Um, so this is September. We are here, if you can believe it. And this is our Climate Health Now community meeting. So we're glad you're here. I think I know everybody, but I'm Ashley McClure, internist here in Berkeley, work in Oakland. And we have a really exciting hour ahead of you, and a special guest joining us from Minneapolis, actually, an amazing leader that we are excited to learn from. So actually share my screen if all goes well. Let's see. Okay. So we're gonna kick off. So this is kind of our overview. Present. Here we go. So welcoming our new members. We're gonna hear updates from our awesome Climate for Health voting team, and watch the video that they put work into making. We'll be joined by Dr. Laalitha Surapaneni, who's joining from Minneapolis and who was basically the leader for the national health professional mobilization against Line 3 a few weeks ago. And then Amanda's going to give us an overview of the Climate Health Now Advisory Council that we are convening shortly. I'm going to share at the very end about a really, really cool climate health organizing fellowship that Harvard just announced last week, and applications just went live today. And then we'll hear from our sustainable energy team, and we will wrap up with some upcoming save the dates and opportunities to join your colleagues in climate activism and advocacy for health. So teamwork makes the dream work, and community organizing is all about distributed leadership. So I'm really grateful. I think Robert is hopefully here. He's going to be helping us stay on time, and will let us know when there's 1 minute remaining for each of our sections. Karina, thank you, is our note taker. Amanda is kind of our default tech support. Kathy, welcome. If you could monitor our chat and help to vocalize any important things that I mentioned there to bring them into the conversation. Vanessa Forsyth is our norm champion, which will make sense in a second. And then screen share I seem to be doing. So we'll stick with that. So Amanda, I'll plop you down into the tech supports, please.
Okay, so let me know if you want me to screen share, but it seems like no. Okay.
We at Climate Health Now are a group of doctors and health professionals, all health professionals in California, who recognize climate change as the public health and equity emergency of our lifetimes, which is why we are organizing and mobilizing the trusted voice of health professionals to advocate for a rapid and just transition off harmful fossil fuels toward a healthy, equitable society sustained by renewable energy for all. And what we're all about is really becoming the home for health professionals across California in the greater climate movement, and helping us to see how to leverage our very unique voices. So Vanessa, if you wouldn't mind just calling out, so these are what Climate Health Now, through different meetings, we've all agreed to as our shared norms and how we want to, the culture that we want to create. So Vanessa, if you could just call out one of the norms that we've agreed to, and just a one sentence mention of why you think it's important for an inclusive and welcoming, healthy community.
I'll go with number 8, keep our commitments. I think there's two sides to that. It's like knowing what our commitments are and making that commitment to ourselves to follow through, and also to the rest of the group, letting them know we are committed to do something indicated by a date.
Beautiful. Yep. Keeping our word, the basis of any important relationship. So thank you. And then we'd love to welcome, are there any new members who this is your first meeting? I'll go through and invite people. If you want to share your name, your practice, or your date, where you live, and then one sentence about what called you to join us. And I think maybe Amanda, if you could drop the membership form into the chat.
Yep, Absolutely. And I see a few people, you probably do, Ashley, too, who I think this is their first meeting.
Yeah, maybe Hina, would you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I am. I have been receiving this listserv like messages to attend the meeting for a while, but I'm sorry I have been not able to join it until today. I mean, I am here in East Bay area in Walnut Creek, Alamo area, and right now I'm in between jobs. So I have been always very passionate about the climate psychiatry or climate related effect on health. So obviously, I'm always rooting for you guys. I just never get, I mean, I have young kids, so I'm always lagging behind and doing anything more than just reading about you guys or all the great things that you guys are doing or other people in the field. So
we're glad you're here. And we are all
thank
lagging.
you.
Life is so that's why we have a team, because we can help, carry each other forward when our lives get really intense. So glad you're here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Anybody else new?
Lawrence, I think, is new.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm new. I'm actually an incoming medical student next year. I'm currently on a gap year, working as a software engineer here in San Francisco, and I work with the medical students for a sustainable future as well. So I was just trying to get involved in more local groups as well while I'm out here. I'm based out of San Francisco, so in the Bay Area.
So great. Welcome. We're really glad you're here. We totally love MS4SF. They're very dear to our hearts. Glad you're here. And then Nightingale, do you want to introduce yourself to this community meeting?
Yes. Hi. This is Nightingale, and I'm a registered nurse. I'm in Monterey region, and I'm finalizing my transition from Illinois. I'm very excited to be here and looking forward to all the wonderful things that we will do that are really necessary.
Glad you're here too. And Nightingale was one of our CHN Catalyst Collective participants. So
wonderful.
Getting together more. And anybody else who this is your first community meeting? You want to introduce yourself? Great. Okay. Well, glad you're here. So I think many know this, but so CHN, we've kind of divided up our enormous state into 7 different hubs. And the North State Capital Corridor is kind of, this Solano County, Sacramento, El Dorado, and North. Golden Gate is tiny, but very dense with Marin and San Francisco County. The Peninsula South Bay hub includes, San Mateo, Santa Cruz, and Santa Clara counties. East Bay is also very small, but very dense, the hotbed of climate activism, I always say, with Contra Costa and Alameda County. And then Central, you can kind of see here, Mid-SoCal, the San Luis Obispo, Kern, San Bernardino, LA. And then our southernmost hub is Orisdi, so Orange, Riverside, San Diego, Imperial. And if you don't know which hub you're a part of, if you do the membership form that I believe Amanda dropped into the chat, that will help us to connect you into your local allies and colleagues. So do that if you aren't sure. And I'm going to turn it over now to Margie, Cynthia, and Karina to get updates about our Voting for Climate and Health focus team.
All right. Margie, are you going to lead us off?
Let me help. Hello. Yes. Well, we know that democracy is under attack. Texas just passed the laws to really restrict voting in Texas, so we're still in this fight.
Excuse me, Margie, can you speak up a little bit? We barely hear you.
Let's see. Am I close enough?
Yeah, that's better.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay. So we know that democracy is under attack. Texas just passed all these laws to suppress the vote. So we're actively working on strengthening and defending democracy. Cynthia's going to talk to you about our campaign, Health for the Health of Humanity, and what we've done for that, and our video. We hope to show that today. We're going to talk about the current California recall election, and we'd like to, can you have the next slide, please? Oh, Cynthia, you should probably do the next part, right? This is
Right.
next. So Cynthia, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the health of humanity?
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Mhm.
Okay, great. So we started this campaign a couple months ago called The Health of Humanity Depends on Healing Democracy. And we wrote this sign-on letter to US senators that had at least 7 people editing it, which was, so this was by committee, but we have gotten 470 signers from across the nation. We managed to get at least 1 signer from all 50 states. And this was sent to every US senator on July 29th. And then to further amplify that, we came up with, we did a letter delivery event in San Francisco on August 18th, which was a lot of fun. This photo shows most of us who were there, and we hand delivered the letter to both Senator Padilla's staff and Senator Feinstein's state director, who was really taken with our presence and said that Senator Feinstein is now committed to following Schumer's lead, that she will change the filibuster in any way he deems necessary in order to pass democracy reform. So we were really excited to hear that. And he also advised us to pressure all Democratic senators to get to 50 votes on democracy reform, because it's not just the filibuster. So to follow up on that, we did a video compilation of signers from across the nation reading an abridged version of the Health of Humanity letter. And we'd like to play that for you now. Amanda, are you going to play that? I put that in your...
I can.
Okay.
Hopefully there's not
This is a 2-minute
background noise, but yes.
video. And I want to thank especially everyone who contributed, but especially Michelle Myers, who produced this for us.
Okay, let me make sure this works. All righty. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah. Can you go full screen on that?
Yep.
Dear Senator,
we are doctors,
we are nurses,
and health professionals speaking out
because climate change is a human health emergency.
Our prescription: start by healing democracy.
Because voting is a social determinant of health.
Our patients are dying of extreme heat.
They're choking on wildfire smoke.
And traumatized by hurricanes and floods.
The IPCC just issued
a code red for humanity.
A code red.
The individual care we provide is no match for the harms from climate change. Collective action to lower greenhouse gas emissions is essential.
Most Americans want to move forward toward clean energy.
But their voices have been silenced by cancer eating away at our democracy.
Congress must ensure that the voice of all Americans can be heard.
And have their vote count.
The cure:
eradicate voter suppression.
Eradicate gerrymandering, election interference.
Reform the filibuster.
Do whatever it takes to save democracy.
The lives of every human.
You, your families,
your constituents, and our patients
depend on your actions.
Legislators must be the healers where we cannot.
Sincerely, Alan Greenglass, MD.
Marlene Bluestein, MD.
John W. Aldis, Doctor of Medicine.
Teresa Rohr Kirchberger, MD.
Timothy Gibbs, MPH.
Dr. Minta Phillips.
Dr. Udwani, PhD.
Bob Kitchen, MD.
Kathleen Haynes, MD.
Cynthia Carmichael, family physician.
Victoria Cummings, medical doctor.
Dr. Jeffrey B. Ritterman, MD.
Woohoo! Yay! That was amazing. So great. Yeah, any comments on the awesomeness of that?
Great job.
Woohoo! Super, super powerful. And I love how some of those faces from across the country are familiar. We are building our community. Wonderful. A huge round of applause to everybody who got to participate. Robert, did you want to say something?
If we wanted to get a copy, how could we get that?
I can share the YouTube. I mean, it's on YouTube on the Med Society Consortium's channel. I'll put it in the chat in one sec.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful question.
This was probably mentioned, but how is it being disseminated to the senators?
I'm so glad you asked. That's exactly the next slide. So we sent the original letter to all US senators on the 29th. Since then, we've gotten people from all 50 states and more voters. So we're working with the consortium using their voter voice tool. And we have this campaign called Healing Democracy for the Health of Humanity, a message to our senators. We sent this to everyone who signed the original letter. So I hope most of you have gotten this. If you haven't signed the letter, please let us know. We will post this again and send it to everyone in CHN. We plan to do it this week, but there may have been some shifts in the Senate timing strategy. So watch for this over the next couple of weeks. You'll see the video and there'll be a link to just click this and send it to your own senator, one of those really nifty tools. So we hope everyone will do this and share it because it's really important that it get out across the country, even to Democratic senators that you think are in support. So.
Woohoo!
Then on to the recall. Margie.
All right, so there's still an election, a recall election next week. So we want to remind everybody to, if they've gotten their ballot, to send it in and vote no. And it really matters because it's possible that the next senator or the next governor will be making another appointment because Senator Feinstein is 88 years old and she may resign or she may get sick. So we don't know about that. The next next governor also makes climate policies and COVID protocols. So it's very important who our next leader is. And so if you haven't voted, you can still, and you haven't registered, you can register vote in this link that Karina will put up in the chat. And if you're not registered, you can actually register on the date of the election. So on September 14th, you can do same day voter registration. And the information about that is in this link here too, that Karina will put up in the chat. Can you go to the next slide, please? And what we can do to really help this Governor Newsom stay in office is we can do vote tripling. So we want to tell 3 friends to vote no. So remind your friends and family to get out there and vote and to vote no. We don't want to be complacent and let the fervor of this, the Republicans take over this office. You can phone bank, and there are 3 links through 3 different groups that are doing phone banking almost every day of the week. So Indivisible has a link, the Cal Dems have a link, and Swing Left has a link. So these are the links to do phone banking if you have time. And we'd like to invite you to our team meeting. The next Vote for Climate and Health meeting is September 28th at 6:30, and we're going to launch our next campaign, which is the Vote ER Democracy Kit, which will allow you to register your patients to vote. So that's a get out the vote kind of effort. And if you'd like to join us, please contact me or yes, so we'd love to have you join us because we're really busy.
It's true. One other sentiment that comes up a lot is I think many of us are disappointed, dissatisfied with the climate leadership that Newsom has shown and the sense that he is kind of in the pockets of big oil. And I share that personally. And I think the best strategy that we can all see is that we keep him in office and then we start pressuring the heck out of him to stand up for health and climate and phase out oil, et cetera. So thank you. Maybe one question we have time for our—
Can I make just one very brief comment to follow up on that, Ashley? I'm so glad you brought that up. The voting team has decided that we really don't want to endorse specific candidates, but we want to let people know what their position is on climate and health. And right now, this is a very anti-democratic recall. If we don't vote no, then someone with 20%, 16% of the vote could become the next governor. And almost all of them do not have good positions on climate and health. They're much, much worse than the current governor. So it's imperative that we keep him in and then pressure him.
Yeah, definitely.
And
We
there's
will
oh, sorry, Ash, go ahead.
And we will be offering opportunities for that pressuring while leveraging our health voice this fall. So stay tuned. And then
I just wanted to address, I think Trisha had put a question into the chat that I know comes up a lot. And so I just wanted to highlight it with this question of, should we vote, when we vote no, should we list, like, do you still vote for another person? And I think there's a lot of complicated answers about that, but I just wanted to highlight Kathy Durbin, who, Kathy, thanks for weighing in, put into the chat that the Democratic Party recommends leaving Part 2 blank, just vote no and return it, which I know is what Newsom is recommending also. I think there's a lot of different answers to that depending on who you ask, but that was Kathy's answer.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable. It's next Tuesday. This all has to happen by next Tuesday. So be sure to get to it this week. Wonderful. So we're going to close that chapter and hope people can join the Voting for Climate and Health team meeting September 28th. So I am super honored to be welcoming Dr. Laalitha Surapaneni, who is an assistant professor of internal medicine with a public health degree from Johns Hopkins. And she practices in Minneapolis. And I remember getting an email from you, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, not long ago, calling on health professionals across the country who, through, as I understand it, the network of the Medical Society Consortium, to have a national day of health professional solidarity standing against Line 3. And I just felt like, you know, so much solidarity just in the email and the, you know, the fight to phase out fossil fuels. And so I reached out to Dr. Surapaneni to ask, like, you know, how did you decide that this was in your lane, and how did you make this all happen? And if she could share about this incredible mobilization that I think we want to see more and more and more of. So without further ado, I will turn it over to you, and really honored that you're joining us.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on. And I think I had mentioned this earlier, you know, I think I've emailed a lot of you, and Ashley, your email reply to me was on a particularly kind of day when I was feeling kind of, oh man, I'm never going to be able to, or we're never going to be able to, like, you know, pull this off. And it was such a, email of joy to just get that, and that bolstered some of the efforts. And so, like, honestly, the whole thing like only came together because we work in coalition. You know, it's definitely not like a one person thing, really is a team effort. I did want to share a little bit about Line 3. Many of you might already know, but I just wanted to kind of address that question of, like, you know, why is this something that health professionals need to care about or worry about? If we could go to the next slide. Thank you. So this is the map of Line 3. So this is an Enbridge oil pipeline that brings tar sands from Canada all the way through, like, the headwaters of the Mississippi, and the pipe ends in the Superior Terminal. I'm pointing on my screen as so you guys can see it, but yeah, it's a Superior Terminal where it goes into Wisconsin to get refined, and then the oil, you know, either we use it or it goes overseas. So there is a pipeline already in place, which has been there for decades, and the company made the argument that, like, we need to replace this pipeline. And so they build it very much as a replacement. And, you know, what they actually proposed was a new route with a bigger pipe, and they're pretty much doubling the capacity of tar sands. Next slide. So just to kind of like wrap our heads around, like, the climate impact of this pipeline, the additional tar sands that will flow will generate 193 million tons of CO2 every single year that this pipeline is in operation. And that turns into 50 new coal-fired power plants if we combine emissions for all of those coal plants together. and I have to like almost every time I like talk about this, I have to pause and be like, wait, is this every year? No, it can't be that big. No, it is every year. And it's just such a, it's just so incomprehensible that this is going forward at this time, like after the IPCC report that we all just read in August. Next slide. So health professionals have been involved in this advocacy against Pipeline 3 for almost like 6 or 7 years. So I moved to Minnesota about 3 years ago. You know, and I've involved some of the efforts that HPHC, so that's Health Professionals for a Healthy Climate, is the chapter in Minnesota. And so, you know, we've written a white paper about the health harms of tar sands oil and, you know, what health harms come about with constructing and operating the pipeline. We've participated in pretty much every single, you know, regulatory hearing that happened. We gave comments both in person and also, you know, written comments. We had these like, you know, creative kind of episode or like actions where we went and educated like the governor's office about the health harms of this pipeline. We wrote, you know, all the usual things of like social media and traditional media, giving interviews. And right when these permits for construction were started, it was like the height of COVID. And I think Minnesota actually had the worst number of cases in the state. And we were asking to pause construction because about like 2,000 workers were going to travel from out of state to come here to construct the pipeline. And so unfortunately, despite all of these measures, you know, permits were given in like December of 2020. And next slide. And since then, it's been kind of really awful to just, you know, watch how many of the harms that we alerted our elected officials to, like all of those come to be true. So, you know, with COVID, over 800 workers tested positive. And there was obviously no, you know, tracking within the community to know how much of that resulted in community spread. We warned that there's going to be oil spills, and even during construction, like 63% of the sites where they were doing construction, they were spilling drilling fluid. And of course, as we all know, like, you know, we don't get to know what's in the fluid. So it could be carcinogenic material. We have just no idea because it's proprietary. We had, you know, the exceptional drought, like past extreme drought. Some of the counties had like extreme and exceptional drought warnings, but then the Department of Natural Resources in Minnesota gave them, initially Enbridge applied for like a 5 million gallon permit. And then suddenly within 2 weeks, they upgraded their permit. The state upgraded their permit to 5 billion gallons of water during the drought. And then, you know, all of our Indigenous allies were talking about how with other projects, they have seen that every time there's construction of fossil fuel infrastructure, there's a rise in sex trafficking. And unfortunately, this is just like one news article, but there have been like more claims of more like documentation of sexual harassment of Native women by pipeline workers, and of course, police violence. And I think this is probably kind of like the place where I was myself and like many people who've been working against Line 3 within the health and science community here in Minnesota. It was quite horrific to see the violence against Indigenous water protectors. I remember like before all of this, you know, planning for the action started, one of these days, like I was at the hospital. Inside the building, I could smell the wildfire smoke from Canadian wildfires. And it was just horrible to come out and like see smoky skies and see pictures from the construction site. You know, like I log on to like Twitter and I was just going through all of the updates, and there's orange smoky skies in northern Minnesota, and we are actively like putting in this pipe to push more and more tar sands oil, and the only people who have like sense enough to stop this were attacking them with like rubber bullets and chemical weapons and putting them in jail and solitary confinement. It was just a lot to process, and this is all happening in the background of like another IPCC report that's warning us that we need to be taking immediate action. So I think that was probably a series of events that kind of catalyzed into this event of just solidarity from across the country, because I was also hearing from a lot of people of like, well, what can we do to help? And so I think it was definitely a coalition effort, both from chapters within Physicians for Social Responsibility and also the Medical Society Consortium coming together. So I think we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so we had about 12 physicians or health professionals from 12 states and 10 separate states. We had action, so which was so beautiful and so powerful to witness. Yeah, I mean, this has been like such an amazing coalition building activity, and there are so many lessons. I think I'm still processing the enormity of it. Some days I'm just I keep thinking back and I'm like, whoa, this happened. And usually someone has to like emails me and they're like, wow, this must be really a big thing if so many doctors like came out. And I'm like, yes, this is, climate is absolutely a health issue. And I think there was a lot of like good lessons, I would say, that came out of this would be just that there's still that divide in the general, media consciousness of how, at least through line 3, what I've seen is like, it's, oh, this like round goes to Enbridge, this round goes to like the opponents of line 3, like it's a very much a story building that I see, but there's not that like, it's a loss for everyone if this pipeline is built, and it's like a damage to our climate, to our water, to all this impacts every one of us. And I think that storytelling, it was missing through the narrative, and I hope that we started to change some of that, to reframe this climate as a health issue, line 3 as a Indigenous rights and Indigenous health issue. There's also like maybe some harsh lessons to which are fossil fuel industries are very powerful. And I think we have to leverage our, people in the administration definitely know about this pipeline, and, faith leaders, youth, the Indigenous leaders, like so many different actions have been happening, and they've been happening since pretty much the start of this pipeline, 2014. And so I think there has been like that kind of a little bit of reality check of how much more of a coalition building we all need to do I see, Cynthia, you put it in the chat that we need to really like take back that narrative. And yeah, I feel like I talked for a long time. I'm just gonna turn it over and see. I don't think I have a lot of like ideas of where this goes next exactly, but I'm curious to see like how we can work together, because this was so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Well, the round of applause and just like so much admiration for your organizing this. And I think, the more we, sometimes that term gets thrown around a lot of building people power, and, what does that even mean? But I think this is what it means. It means, knowing each other, having these relationships to be able to act together. And I really admire what you've done. And I remember Jeff Ritterman here in the Bay Area, he sent an email. So are there thoughts about or discussions happening about a health professional kind of delegation going to the front lines of the pipeline?
Yeah, I think that's definitely it's difficult at this point to like know, you know, whether or not that can be translated into reality, just because Enbridge is saying they're almost done with construction. While there are frontline actions happening, you know, every day and still, and the fight continues, I think like organizing a group of health professionals to come up to the front lines might be just logistically, I think we need a little bit more lead time as opposed to other groups of folks. And so I think that's been a barrier to move people, but also there's been a militarization of police and police presence in northern Minnesota, which I think is a reality. And for a lot of health professionals, you know, if we're engaging in these actions, we just need to go in with our eyes open about what restrictions we carry in terms of licensing and just, you know, credentialing at hospitals with our work of what an arrest means. And so, yes, if you are, you know, like I want to come to the front lines, there's always room for that particular action. But I think in terms of like organizing, I don't know if I personally, like, you know, at this moment, like have that capacity, but these ideas like always emerge out of energy. And so, you know, if a lot of us are feeling up to it, that's definitely a possibility.
Walgreens that way.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I think that was somebody not muted.
Yeah, so I saw a couple of like, yeah, this is a zombie pipeline. I saw a couple of like comments here, and Amanda, I think you were saying it's very hard too because there are so many bad things. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's so true. Sometimes I don't know whether I feel so strongly because Line 3 is like right in my backyard here, but there are so many, you know, not just climate, right? There's also COVID, and especially for health professionals who are in those states that are kind of suffering with like the second wave, it's just so hard to pick ourselves up. And that's why I think this coalition building definitely works in terms of, you know, sharing resources as well as like expertise and experiences. For example, like with Mountain Valley Pipeline, some of you may know about this, that's being built in Virginia. There's need for some comments around water quality, and some of that is very similar to, you know, putting pipe in the ground, whether that's for natural gas or for tar sands oil. It's the same techniques of drilling and same risks of spills. So I think I am trying to work with frontline communities who are looking at this more from a national and like international standpoint, globally, of all fossil fuels, and not just, you know, focusing on individual pipeline or, you know, coal plant fights in each state. And I think that's maybe where we can also kind of put in some of our expertise and have this network of people who are focused and like develop this neo expertise in around these issues. Yeah, but also I think pushing our academic institutions and health institutions that we're part of to, you know, take a stance on particular projects. Because I think, you know, with Line 3, right, everyone will, or like we're at a place at least where we can say, oh yeah, no fossil fuels. We're completely behind that. But then if you say, well, this is happening right here in your state, can you oppose this? Then I think it's like much harder to move our institutions to kind of like get to that place. So that may be another step where we are able to, you know, work together to share strategies. Recently here, one of the colleges actually divested from like Enbridge, particularly McAllister, and they said we're doing this because of Line 3. And I think that would be a very like powerful thing for health institutions to start doing as well. So yeah, I'm hopeful that that would be another. Yeah, I see the question for like Kaiser speaking out against, yeah, new drilling. So I think, you know, especially after that editorial was published with over 200 health journals saying, you know, health professionals should do anything and everything to oppose or like to participate in climate action. That could be another way we pull our might together.
Yeah.
Laith, did you guys get or have, I'm curious, like have the major hospital systems in Minnesota said anything?
No, yeah. It's been it's also, I think, like a capacity issue as well, right? Like where we put our energies. And so on Enbridge, at least for like line 3, they're saying that they're going to be starting to flow oil like sometime by October. And so I think we're in this moment where let's do everything, anything and everything we can, but also use some of the harsh lessons we've learned and good lessons we've learned to plan for and look at more long-term. Because I mean, this is not going away anytime soon, no matter how many reports we write. Yeah.
Did any health professionals get arrested or on the front line? Like, has that happened?
No, there have been like folks who went up north. There was one nurse, I think a public health nurse, who was not directly like connected to HPHC, but as an individual, I think she got arrested, and she said she's doing it because climate is a health crisis. And so that's really the only one that I've seen. But yeah, I was actually going to put that in and put in a plug about the October event as well.
Yeah, Laalitha, so many. Thank you so much for joining us. I think it's kind of, I see it as like it's one of the facets of when we say we have to, phase out fossil fuels. It's very vague, but these individual actions help us to like see learn from what each other, what we're up to, and to do that in our spheres of influence. And maybe we'll wrap this part up with what was plugged. So I think it's the People versus Fossil Fuel action in DC, October 11th to 15th, that's being organized. We will include that for sure in our mailing, our newsletter. And I think you and I both reached out to the consortium to say, let's like organize a health delegation to this action in DC. And, really using our organized medicine, whether it's our state medical societies or the consortium or our local societies, but using that incredible, kind of those structures to join these efforts, I think is what I see as our contribution. So thank you so much for joining. And we will definitely continue the conversation.
Thank you for giving me this time.
Thank you, Laalitha.
We are just
heartfelt,
so impressed and grateful that they're, and I think many,
turn it over. CHN, we are a young organization, but we're trying to kind of create more transparent and widely shared structure to grow our movement. So Amanda's going to discuss a little bit about the advisory council that we're working on convening.
Awesome. Alrighty, excellent. So just kind of a 180 from what we've just been talking about. And I think my thoughts are still really tied up in line 3 and the bigger picture as well. But bringing it back to our internal structure and what's going on. So as Ashley mentioned, we are coming up on our 2-year anniversary of being an official group or organization. And we will have a lot more information in the weeks and months to come, but we just wanted to share out today that one of the things that we're working on creating right now is an advisory council, basically, which would be, as we're envisioning it, a group of somewhere on the order of 5 to 7 people, basically, who would function as advisors to CHN, to the core leadership team, to a steering committee, in general, who really have high-level expertise in environmental justice, health and climate policy, California, how the legislative process in California works, communications, and movement building. And so we are in the process of reaching out to people right now to see if they would be interested in stepping in this way. These would not necessarily be health. Some of them would be health professionals, though not all. So there will be much more to come on that, but we wanted to put that out there, that this is what's going on, and also to share that a large area that we are working on very actively, though it's probably not apparent, is structure building. How creating a structure that works for members, that has clearly defined what does it mean to be a member, how do we make decisions, who makes the decisions, trying to really sort that out. And what I can certainly share, and I know, because you're still on, you can probably, as one of the other state, climate clinician groups, one of the things that we've been doing is really trying to reach out to other groups that are similar to CHN in other states, to figure out what are they doing in terms of structure, what's working, what's not. And I think there's a huge range of how structured other groups are, and kind of how far along this learning curve they are. So we're trying to really get input from other groups and figure out how to make this work for us in a way that will enable us to be effective. So I'll stop there. I don't think we're really going to open it up. I mean, if somebody has a question, we can try to answer it, although I don't know that we'll have much more specifically other than that. But we just wanted to put that out there and say more to come.
Yeah. There's one question. I think we could do that, and then we'll move to the next thing. A list of
available of groups in other states. Yeah, I mean, I think, Bob, the best place to find that would be the Medical Society Consortium website. I can put that in the chat. They have a list of their state affiliates, of which CHN is one. So that would probably be the best place that I'm aware of. Does anybody have other thoughts?
Yeah, so more to come on that. And in terms of opportunities, we just wanted to call out a really, really cool one that kind of just got announced last week, and then is the application just opened up today. So out of Harvard, there's something called a new fellowship called the Climate Health Organizing Fellowship. So this is totally up our alley. And it's for US-based health professionals who, and they're creating a new cohort of health professionals who are trained in the health impacts of the climate crisis, why it's in our lane, and then also that have really strong community organizing skills. So this is very similar. I see it as like a amazing Harvard version of our Catalyst Collective. So this is all online. It's through, so Pedja, who is our coach and consultant, he's working on it with Gaurav Basu, amazing people at the helm, and it's in collaboration with the Harvard Kennedy School with Marshall Gans, and it's a 6-month fellowship. I believe it's going to start in January. With 3 immersive weekend sessions and then 2 monthly 2-hour sessions. And our aspiration is to have kind of a CHN delegation to this fellowship. So if you're interested, Amanda, if you could drop the link in the chat, I think that'll bring you to the application. So if you are considering it, we would love for you to let us know if you want. You can also just apply on your own, but we would really love to get like 5 Climate Health Now members to apply to really.
And it's Vanessa, it's virtual. It's entirely virtual. And they're actually encouraging, sorry, I'm looking for the link right now. I'll get it in a sec, but they're encouraging, I don't know if it's encouraged or required, but you have to apply in a team of 3. So if you are interested in applying, if you want to let us, I mean, we could certainly connect people who are part of CHN together, if you're interested in applying. And I would just add that.
Yeah. So look out for that. I think it will be a really wonderful experience. So if you're interested, let us know. And then I'm going to turn over to Karina, and I didn't see Jeff. Is Jeff here? Just Karina.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think Jeff is working on other things. We are also working. So very briefly, the Sustainable Energy team has been busy. We, just as a general update, because this is one of our big things, the CalGEM draft public health rules still have not been released. We are following along with the Vision Coalition plan. They've met with CalGEM about the demand for setbacks from oil and gas drilling. CHN has signed on to their letter with dozens and dozens of other organizations, and it's still ongoing. The Sustainable Energy team members have been super busy writing all sorts of letters and submitting comments on various bills, some of which are briefly summarized there that would affect California energy. Our next meeting is next Monday, September 13th at 5 p.m. But the day before that, you don't want to miss the talk by Dr. Dan Kamen called "Is There Still Time to Save the World? Why California Must Accelerate Climate Action and How Bold Policies Could Make Us a Global Climate Leader." And he is director of the Renewable and Appropriate Energy Laboratory at UC Berkeley and a coordinating lead author for the UN IPCC. So he is super knowledgeable, and it promises to be an excellent talk. Thank you.
Great. Maybe one question for that, for our Sustainable Energy team? Thank you. I sent an email to everybody about that talk for last Sunday, so there's still time. It's this Sunday. Thank you. And so we'll wrap up with some announcements of really great upcoming opportunities. So this one already passed.
No, it's tomorrow morning.
Oh my gosh, slow down.
Yeah.
Okay. Amanda, do you want to call that out?
Oh yeah, sure. I can run. Yeah, this is an event that is being hosted by the Columbia School of Public Health, and also, and I'm in a blank on that. They have a long acronym. The group out of there, Climate and Health Education Global Consortium, and their goal basically is to put together these sort of like rapid response webinars as extreme weather events happen, specifically for the health community. And so this is one about Hurricane Ida, and actually Mona Sarfati, who many of you guys know, is one of the speakers. So stay tuned for more. They're letting us know when they're planned, and we will push out that information. But I think there will also be one on wildfires coming up.
Mm-hmm. And then September 17th, so not this Friday, but unbelievably next Friday, it is a all hands on deck mobilization within CMA. So all medical students, all residents have free CMA membership. You just have to sign up. And we are encouraging people even to become members just to participate in this. So next Friday, 12:30 to 1:30, it's called the Grassroots CMA President-Elect Candidate Forum on the Climate Crisis. And Dr. Dawn Berwick is going to give opening remarks on why climate is in our lane as health professionals. And then all four of the president-elect candidates for CMA, their election is next month, will be kind of sharing their platform. And then we will have masterfully crafted questions to help show them the obligation of physicians in California to be lobbying for equitable climate bills. So not just another report, but we want like lobby priority happening. And so this is pretty much the most important event for CMA advancing climate as a priority this year. So we're at like 108 registrants, and our goal is over 200. We're hoping to break Zoom. So if you know anybody in CMA or any medical students or residents who would be free CMA members, just encourage them to show up, because I think it's gonna be a really important conversation. So that's next Friday. And then does anybody, let's see, Robin's not here. So on September 20th at 11, climate Psychology Alliance of North America.
It's different from Climate Psychiatry Alliance. I think they're new.
Okay. So they're an inaugural event with our favorite Bill McKibben. So we'll share the registration link. And then AAP California. You want to give this one a shout out, Amanda?
Yeah, so this is for any pediatricians on the call, although I don't think you have to be a pediatrician to listen in. Karina, do you know if that's true?
No, you do not need to be a pediatrician.
You don't need to be a pediatrician. Yeah, this is our first ever essentially cross chapter chat. So this is, all 4 AAP California chapters coming together to talk about climate change and child health. And Aparna Bowl, who many of you have probably heard of, who's a pediatrician in Ohio, will be giving some more sort of educational remarks. And then there's a panel with pediatrician climate advocates throughout this, or activist advocates throughout the state. So that will include the link in our newsletter, but it should be good.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. And then Lisa Patel is one of the key organizers, but there's many working on the 2nd annual NorCal Symposium on Climate Health and Equity. So it's going to be 3 weeks away, basically Friday, September 14th from noon till
24th.
Thank you, 24th. So it's a collaboration of UCSF, UC Davis, Stanford. I finally wrangled KP into becoming co-sponsor. They're going to have these 4 kind of breakout sections. So sustainable healthcare, food systems. Karina, are you part of that one?
Yes, ma'am.
Sweet. Don't miss that one. And then medical and community education and air pollution and wildfires. Yours truly is kind of coordinating the happy hour networking event via Zoom from 5 to 6. So you definitely don't want to miss this. It's a really wonderful conversation. And Robert Bullard, commonly known as the father of environmental justice, as I understand it, he is giving the opening remarks. Last year it was Gina McCarthy, so Lisa knows how to organize. So you could take a picture of this QR code to register, which I've done. I hope you will too, or you can go to this tiny URL here. So I think just a flag in the interest of time. So many of you, I'm sure, have seen this already, but just on Monday, over 220 international health journals published a joint editorial ahead of COP, calling on world leaders to take emergency action to limit warming, basically, and this is kind of calling on them, in the COP meeting in Glasgow, saying, as the health professionals of the world, this is in New England Journal, BMJ, Lancet, all of them, that the responsibility is yours to protect health. So really, really big deal. And you can help get the word out about it through, you can sign individually, you can advocate to get your organization to sign on. So Healthy Climate is what it's called. And if you let's see, if you just Google basically New England Journal.
Sorry, I just put the links in the chat to sign.
Okay, yeah. Wonderful. So this is a really wonderful, and a lot of us are trying to get organized medicine to follow the lead of these health journals. So something to celebrate. And that's just more of it in the Lancet. And then last thing, for all of your colleagues who might want to get help in figuring out how to be a part of the climate movement and how to leverage our health voice, we would love them to join. So they can do that through emailing us. And if you want to just, introduce them, but the way to become a member is to email caclimatehealthnow@gmail.com. And then just introduce, their name, their professional title, or what kind of student they are, where they live, and if possible, their phone number. And that's what we'll plug them into Climate Health Now. And we really, I think we're about 485 members in the past 2 years, and we really want to grow this movement so that all health professionals in California are part of the climate movement, whether through, the PSRs or Annie or Med Students for Sustainable Future. But, we are a all California welcoming group. So please do share the word with your health professional colleagues. And then we will be back here next month, October 13th, which is amazing. 8:30 to 10 will be that meeting. And I think that's about it. Thank you for joining. Any questions or anything?
Thank you. That was
Awesome, Laalitha. Thank you. We'll share that out in our.
Thanks, everyone.
Can I take a quick screenshot?
Woo.
Okay, on 3, everybody smile. 1, 2, 3. Thanks.
All right. Hope you have
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.